Hey, what's going on guys? It's Ilya Belly here. I do coding stuff on YouTube. Check the description for all my information. I do all LeetCode problems. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give me a big thumbs up to support it. And this is called coin change. You're given coins of different denominations and the total amount of money amount. Write a function to compute the fewest number of coins that you need to make up that amount. If that amount of money cannot be made up by any combination of the coins, return -1. Here, as you can see, there are some examples. As always, note you may assume that you have an infinite number of each kind of coin. Well, here we just return 3 because like 5 plus 1 equals to 11, and here we just cannot be made up by any combination of the coins, so we just return -1. We can solve this problem using dynamic programming. I'll show you two solutions how to do that iteratively, using tabulation method, bottom-up approach, and how to do that recursively using memorization, top-down approach. Well, let's start. I'll show you how to do that iteratively. First, you check if amount is less than 1, then we return 0. Next, we create a minimum equals to, not minimum, result equals to 0. And as you know guys, to do all that stuff in dynamic programming, you need to, if you use tabulation method like iteratively, you need to create, you need to maintain an array, and the length of that array will be amount, plus 1. Yeah. Next, we need to create a while loop. We increment the result by 1 first, then we check if it's less than or equals to amount. That means that we can do all that stuff, so we just create minimum equals to -1 initially. That means that if we cannot be made up by any combination of the coins, we return -1. Next, we are looping through these coins, and we check if the result is greater than the current coin, and also array at result minus coin doesn't equal to -1. Initially, the first element into that array equals to 0. So we say we create in temp equals to array the result minus coin, and we increment by 1 because we just saw the the coin, and we use 1 coin. And if we say minimum equals to, if minimum is less than 0, that means that we are at the first iteration, like here. We ain't got no combinations yet. We just got 1 combination, like the first coin, right? So we just set up to temp. Otherwise, if we got some combinations that we just set up to, if temp is less than minimum, then we set up to temp. Otherwise, we set up to minimum. We just need to choose the fewest number of combinations, right? So yeah, that's it. Like the current one or just the next combinations. And also we need to say array at result equals to minimum, and finally we just return array at amount. That's it. So here we just we return 0 in the case when amount is less than 1. Then we create the result equals to 0. We'll create an array and we do that while loop. We increment result by 1 first, and if it's less than or equals to amount, then we create the minimum equals to -1. We're looping through these coins, through this array of coins. Then we check if result is greater than or equals to the current coin, and also the value at this position into this array it doesn't equal to -1, then we increment by 1. That means that we just found one coin, and then if we are at the first iteration, then we just set up that minimum. Otherwise, we already seen like more than one calculation, then we just choose the smallest one, right? The fewest number of coins. We set up minimum at this position and we return array amount. That's it. Let's run this code. I hope that works. Accepted. Great. Yeah. Good. Success. Next, I'll show you how to do that recursively. Almost the same idea as well, dynamic programming. You don't need all that stuff. You just can delete that. We return helper. We create a helper method to calculate that combination. We say we pass coins, we pass the remainder, means amount, and we create new array of amount. And we start from 0. Private int helper int coins, int remainder, the remainder, and int array, which will contain all possible calculations like in the previous solution. Here we check if the remainder is less than 0, then we return -1. That means that we cannot be made up by any combination of the coins, so we just return -1. If remainder equals to 0, we return 0. We check if we already got if we already did the calculation, so we just can reuse that. We just return the previous calculation. We say array remainder -1 because we just zero based, we store the first calculation at the int of 0, so we just say remainder -1 doesn't equal to 0, then we return array at remainder -1. Yeah. Then we need to create the variable minimum equals to integer maximum value. Then we are looping through these coins. We say int coins int the result equals to we call this method recursively because we use the recursion. That's pretty obvious. We say helper coins, and at each iteration we decrement the remainder. We say remainder minus the current coin to calculate the all possible combinations, right? So we just top-down approach. We pass array and we check if the result is greater than or equals to 0, and also the minimum is the result, and also the result is less than minimum, and we say minimum equals to result 1, because here we already done some calculations. We already got the number of coins, and here we are at the current we're here, so we just need to say +1 to add up the current coin, right? Hope you understand. It's super easy, I think. And then we say array at result -1 equals to if minimum equals to integer dot maximum value. That means that we need to set up to -1, otherwise we set up to minimum. Yeah, there it is. And we return array at result -1. That's it. Here if amount is less than 1, we return 0. We call this method helper. We pass coins, we pass amount, we pass the new array that will store all possible results, right? All possible combination. And we think, when we talk about dynamic programming, we think about the very last step. We say helper coins remainder array, and if remainder is less than 0, that means that we cannot make it by any combination of the coins. We return -1. If it's not, if the remainder equals to 0, we return 0. If we already compute some combination, we just some combinations, we just reuse that. We return remainder -1, the value at remainder -1. We create minimum equals to integer max value, and we are looping through these coins. We call this method recursively. We get result, and what we do is that we just update the result, the minimum, in the case when result is less than the current minimum. We decrement remainder minus the current coin, by the current coin, and finally we set up the new value at this position. If it equals to, if minimum equals to integer max value, we set up to -1, and otherwise we set up to minimum. And finally we return array result -1. Let's run this code. Result, alright, result -1. Let me think. Result. Result -1. Oh, of course, yeah, that's it. We need to say not result, we say remainder. Say remainder -1. Yeah, remainder -1. Remainder -1. Yeah. Let's run this code. The second try. Accepted. Great. yeah, success. Good. Thank you guys for watching. Leave your comments below. I wanna know what you think. Follow me on Instagram, add me on Snapchat, give me a big thumbs up to support my channel. Subscribe, right? And I wish you all the best. See you next time. Do your best and forget the rest.